Dear Mario, please come to the inventory. I've got some cake for you. Yours truly, Princess Toadstool, Peach. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 64, Super SPNatI 64. Episode 64 of the Strip Poker Night at the Inventory podcast. Oh, geez. Oh, shit. Oh, no. I got to the castle. What's this? Fucking Nmasp, our usual co-host, has been kidnapped by Bowser. I have to replace him. My replacement is the one and only Nord. Nord, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Jump out of that painting, collect the power stars, give us a greeting.
Yahoo! Hello, I'm Nord. I have made many contributions to this game since I was last on the podcast, filling in for Nmasp tonight.
You made a lot of contributions the first time you came on, and then in the intervening time as well. You should probably list exactly what you've been working on.
What have I worked on? Way too many things. I picked up work on Rosa. I made Gloria. Made Dunvan. Helped with Grunt. Oh, you know as well. And a lot of other...
No, I don't know.
And many other posing and model contributions. And I'm also a development mod now. I've been doing my best to improve the character editor more than I break it, and a bunch of other technical stuff.
Yeah, man. You're doing the thankless work, reverse engineering the character editor. I mean, it's this totally custom executable that SPNatI Edit just dropped and then later dropped because he's not part of the community anymore, and others have had to kind of figure it out in order to update it. And you've definitely accomplished a lot on it, but I imagine it can't be easy.
There are a lot of interconnected parts with the character editor, which, yeah, I pretty much have to reverse engineer as I go. Cobrad and also Vision have been a big help in my journey in that, which is funny because Vision didn't know anything about the character editor either before I dragged him in. But yeah.
You also have your own special section of content today that we'll be talking about, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Okay, you want to go ahead and introduce our guest? Because you are sort of the guest co-host, but we have an actual formal guest, a newcomer. Although they've been around the SPNatI dev scene for a while. It's just not on the podcast itself.
I'm Cali, also known as Blunt 4K. Make money, get money, year 2000. Very excited to be here today. I made Ignatz and then Anatoly, and I'm working on Dwight. There's a bunch of other guys shuffled, but I've been working mainly on just guys. But it's nice to be here. I've been in the server for a little over a year, or no, a lot over a year. It's exciting to be here because I always listen, but
I'm glad to have you on.
Thank you.
And you have put out a lot of projects in a short time. You could say they're a little typecast, and we have a particular one of yours to talk about. I guess technically next episode, but sort of in this recording session. So we'll get there as well. But you'll definitely have a chance to say your piece on your latest project.
Cali has also done a bunch of uncredited assistance with models. You've been really good at drawing image attachments for people whenever you have free time, which for some models, such as Petra, and I think you helped with Monica with a visual update.
I've done a lot. I did Monica, Cora, Petra, Zoe. I've donated to a bunch of models that haven't been used yet.
You did Sly Cooper's pants.
Yes, that too.
Which were quickly cast aside.
Yeah, they don't last that long.
It's always good to have an actual artist to complement our isekai artists.
Okay. We will cover all this and more in this episode 64, this Super SPNatI 64 that we got going on. And this episode will be covering mostly main roster additions, but it's not just characters who have graduated from testing to the main roster. It's a lot of interesting extra and side content, as well as some overall game stuff. well. It's always exciting when something is an improvement is added to the overall game. Because mostly this game's development is kind of individual. It's on the character level. So, Cali, you like skinny guys and twinks and embarrassed folks, and we're gonna go ahead and start off with a guy who's well, he is skinny, and he is kind of embarrassed, but not really. He sort of likes embarrassing other people. It's an idol from sort of in the spirit of Anatoly, because apparently his game is like a parody, or his show or whatever it is a parody of like genre stuff, idol stuff, where it just becomes like a horrible nightmare. It's Eichi.
Oh, that's how it's pronounced?
Eichi? I would assume so.
I thought it's pronounced like...
Well, it's a Japanese name, so
True.
I figure that's how you say it. Eichi.
Yeah. So, Eichi? Eichi?
Eichi.
Eichi. Okay.
I don't know if that's right. I guess I should check the character editor, but I would assume that's how you say it.
He does not make use of the pronunciation guide.
There's one criticism.
Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy.
So I remember he dropped on testing. I remember when I was kind of out of it, but I remember Nord, you like at me to tell me he was here, and I mean ever since day one, he was very strong in, you would play with him and you'd instantly get this very strong personality and what he does and like why he's here at the inventory, which I feel like is pretty difficult. And I know he was made by Death Respect, who this was their first character. And I think that's really hard to get right, like right out the gate as a first time developer, because I don't remember seeing them talking that much in like before he hit testing. So I mean, honestly, massive props for that, because you instantly had a character who, like, at least for me, he really grabbed your attention and had this very present place on the table, like among the others, where it was just fascinating to see just how much he already kind of stood out, which is, I don't know, I think you did a very good job with that, even though it's like a smaller thing, because he had a lot of aspects that were developed. But I think also going towards like his full development and moving towards the main roster, there's a lot of little things that were improved on that really, really helped him, I think. Mainly, his artwork was never bad, in my opinion, but like the addition of like the pattern on his pants, or like, I know you redid his face, I think, like his eyes and some of the poses. It really adds a lot, and it brings out more of him, I think. And it's like small little things where if I like first saw him, I'd never be like, oh, he's ruined because he didn't put patterns on his pants. But I don't know, those like little steps and little things you did along his development, I think really make him a very strong character. And I really enjoy having him there. I've never played the game he's from. I feel like I would like it because I like love Project Sakai and stuff along those lines, and especially since it's like a parody. But he definitely has my attention, even though he's not really my type, which is weird to say.
What, is he too confident?
A little too confident, and he has like that very like beautiful hair and like beautiful style. He's not like falling over himself. I really, really liked him. And it was really impressive and very great to see how he's come, even if it wasn't like a huge major leap of like rewriting or completely redone model or stuff like that. You really perfected little parts of him, and I think they really help him shine and give off this very interesting, kind of bizarre, eccentric personality, which I really enjoy because he's not like just a boy idol. He like talks about death a bunch, and it's really funny because he just doesn't like, he has that smile on his face, and he's like, yeah, I was in the hospital my whole childhood. It sucked, but I'm cool now. It's okay.
He's got this macabre sense of humor. I don't know if he targets Nigo Robin, but I think they'd kind of vibe.
Yeah. I
He's
think
just
you
like,
really
oh,
did a
wouldn't it
great
be,
job.
oh, wouldn't it be funny, knowing that at any moment, all of our families could just die tragic fucking deaths. Wouldn't that just be weird? Anyway, go back to getting your tits out.
That's the main thing. He has this great presence among all the other characters, like sexually, just talking, and with his personality, he fits in very well while also keeping his eccentric, kind of weird nature. And honestly, I really enjoyed him. He was a very, very pleasant surprise, to get at for. So I think you did fantastic on him.
Apparently, this was just by accident, but I posted an old post, so there you can see the art evolution. I got to be honest, this must have happened early in his development because I don't remember a time where he didn't have that pattern on his pants. So I must have gotten around to playing him after that happened. Yeah, I just have this old image lying around. Nord, what did you think of Eichi? I guess you weren't on the episode where we covered his testing debut either.
No, I did a little bit of research into Eichi. The TLDR of his story is that he was a sick kid.
Does he also get turned into like a human stew?
No. But he was a sick kid who was in hospital a lot, and he watched idol content on the hospital TV, and eventually decided to become one himself after being cleared to leave. Ensemble Stars is interesting.
What does he have, like a heart condition or something?
I think it's just the sort of vague, unspecified, possibly terminal illness,
wasting disease, cancer.
Yeah, the vague disease where you can say, "Oh no, this character is sick and coughs now and again," without actually getting into, yeah, he has stage 2 cancer. Ensemble Stars was a gacha game, and then they split it into 2 separate games. The original life simulation gacha gameplay, and then Ensemble Stars with 2 exclamation marks, music, which is a rhythm game. Overall, for my most recent play of him, he's pretty good all around. I agree with a lot of points that Cali made. The writing is really strong. And about Death Respects. Death Respects didn't talk much before Eichi got onto testing, because they joined the server the day they submitted Eichi. So they got like their first interaction with the community, with them being praised for how good Eichi was for a solo project developed with little to no input. Not usually the recommended path we tell people to take, but if you have this sort of talent, then go for it. I have a couple
you should be like me and join the Discord 1 week after submitting your first project, because you didn't know that Discord existed.
A week after everyone's already gone crazy over your line count.
Maya did not get a warm reception, actually. You should. You should go back and read like the first couple messages. They were like, she's got a lot of lines, but it's all just kind of boring fluff.
With Eichi, I do have some things to say about his art. For one thing, the pattern on his trousers or pants, because American, they were manually done in, I think, either Photoshop or GIMP, rather than doing it through character editor pipelines, which is the sort of insanity I can get behind, considering how many images have to be edited that way. I will say, I think I do have a lingering problem with how stretched he looks, which is something that I think was never really part of his sponsorship flaws or requirements, and so it never really got properly addressed. Like, it never got, put under the microscope. So I think his upper torso in particular looks a little too long. Like he's been stretched out like a piece of taffy.
This is the same dev as Okino, who I think we talked about last episode. Where I said the exact same thing. I said, well, I called him. I said he looked like a ghoul, and then I said that he looked like he fell into a taffy puller. I guess
Now,
that's their style, but yeah.
Now, I'm not saying Eichi looks like Violet Beauregard from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but he's definitely on the lengthy side. It's not so bad.
Violet
Like I don't.
Wait, are you talking about like the newer movie?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm more familiar with the older one where she just turns into a blueberry and then they roll her out.
Oh yeah, no. The
She
Johnny
gets
Depp
stretched
one.
out in the remake. Sorry, I had to think
wait,
about that one.
Was it them or Mike TV? Sorry.
Oh, you know what? Maybe it was Mike TV. Yeah.
Sorry. Tangent about Roald Dahl films aside. I don't want to say Eichi looks bad. I just think that would be a critique I do have, because the rest of his art is really darn good. He's got that cute anime boy face that you can tell he has, hidden, untapped gremlin energy hiding behind it.
That's right. That's right. I described him as the super rare male gremlin. And it totally is. It's entertaining to just watch him try to fuck with people. And that's my opinion on him really hasn't changed. It's just been small tweaks and improvements. I would overall describe him as just very solid. Like I played another test game with him, and I don't think I've found really anything to criticize at all.
Yeah, this is something
I wish I could say more, but there was just nothing wrong.
Yeah,
everything was kind of as I expected it to be. He hit all the notes. He's got a little bit of the flirtiness going on, a little bit of the morbid references, morbid sense of humor. He likes embarrassing other people. He likes to act embarrassed. He's like, oh, what are you gonna do to me? He has an absolute massive fucking schlong that takes up like 30% of his body mass.
I want to make a point here. Yeah, it's quite the character. I want to make a point here for both Death respects and any other new developers that have either just gotten their character on testing or in the main game or just in general are feeling like they're not getting that much feedback. If you don't get feedback for a length of time and you haven't asked people for it, no news is good news, in my opinion. Because if there's no bug reports, then that means nothing's apparently broken. There may be one or two lines that misfire, say, but if nothing's actually broken and people don't notice, that generally means your character's in a good spot. And if you're ever in doubt and you've gone for a couple of weeks without any feedback, feel free to ask and see if anyone's free to give your character a shot. And keep in mind that it's easier to highlight bad points than it is to come up with unique and interesting ways to say, oh, they're so good,
I would agree with that, yeah. I mean that's part of the reason I really like playing the bad cop on these on these casts, because it's, I don't know, I think that's more productive as long as you're constructive about it in some way. Maybe not calling him a ghoul is not constructive, but saying his proportions need adjustment, that's nice. That's actionable. So speaking of getting some action, Nord, you have put out quite the slice of content for us, which we could have talked about last time, but much like the Grunted Stars, we were a little bit lazy. We would just get to it next time. You want to go ahead and talk about Magma Grunt's epilogue? It's here, another epilogue. Nord is like the only person making epilogues.
No, there have been other epilogues.
There have been others. Miriam
got one. I can't really critique my own epilogue, so I'll leave that to the two of you.
I just mean describe it. How it came about, and what you wanted to do.
Ever since I like properly started working on Magma Grunt as a main game character, I realized I wanted to do an epilogue. I thought at the time I wanted it to be a lengthier, like sappier, slightly more emotional one, where like you go on dates and stuff. Over time, though, for various reasons, I fell out of liking that idea, and I realized, doesn't really work. Would be a lot of effort to try and justify a lot of like trying to get emotional with the viewer over that sort of thing, over like this sort of thing. Not really confident in my own ability to do that. And so I basically one day was just talking about it in the Epilouge channel, and then you, spnanon, suggested a very simple idea, which was just she invites you for a movie call at the Team Magma base. I think you might have meant the volcano, but I went with the other one.
Well, it didn't really matter in the end.
I think I actually made a joke about that in the epilogue itself, where it's like,
Yeah.
no, not the one at Mount Chimney, the Lily Cove base.
Well, that's because she's from Oraz, but I always think in terms of Emerald because that's the one I played. But it doesn't really make a difference. Yeah, that was so. Yeah, credit to me. Shout out to me. I'm gonna give myself a gold medal here because this was totally my idea. And like all good idea guys, I just all right, now you go make it happen. So yeah, that's my philosophy with epilogues. I think people tend to overthink them a little. They tend to overthink a lot of stuff in this game, but it's like, what does the player want to see? They just want to fuck them. Like, just get to it.
Very true. I think
Just
with a lot
call,
of
no, just no fluff. Just jump straight into it. Fuck her a different way. Turn her around. Fuck her another way. And then I also threw in the joke that she's playing hooky. She's shirking her guard duty, and May just walks on by.
Yeah. I do have a couple of points written here for just general advice for anyone thinking about making an epilogue. Because everyone comes in with like their first or second character and is like, oh yeah, I've got to give them an epilogue. You really don't, and if you do, keep it simple, stupid.
Oh yeah, is this male only? I would think so.
It is male only, but there is a interesting factoid about it that I am going to reveal for the first time on this podcast.
Oh shit.
The factoid is I avoided using gendered terms to refer to the player, aside from the fact that you have a schlong.
I did not notice that.
Exactly.
I was looking at her titties.
Exactly.
I noticed. Probably.
Did you?
She like never used like any real pronouns. She'd just be like, "Blunt 4K, get money, make money. What's up?" And I'd be like, oh.
Yeah.
Like shit. I didn't think it was intentional. Is the thing, but I realized that a little bit.
I mean, most epilogues are just like you and the character, so it would just be second person pronouns anyway.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It would just be you and your. Those are my pronouns, you and your. You should always speak to me directly. Don't talk about me when I'm not here.
There was a cut content scene that was in between two of the existing ones. It was cut because it was really hard to work with in terms of like how many assets had to be moved for each frame of animation, and it was just not looking good because of because it was made from Kisake, like Kisake images, so it was too flat for the pseudo 3D effect I was trying to do.
What were you trying to do?
How do I even explain it? It's sort of like cowgirl, but she's leaning over you. I couldn't get it to work.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't be easy.
Yeah.
It was not. I did it wrong at one point, and she looked like a spider.
I've never found a consensus on what that position is actually called. Some people say like reverse missionary, but then if you search
That's what you
reverse
asked.
missionary, half the shit is like missionary, but the dude is like turned 180 degrees. It's like He's like doing the Superman pose, like out. It's like feet to feet.
Other advice for people thinking of making epilogues? Well, obviously keep it simple. Go to like Archive of Our Own. Look up fanfics that are less than 2,000 words long. See how quickly they get into the action. Copy from that. Go into your epilogue with some sort of plan. Like, at least at the very minimum, know your scene order and know what you're going to have to put in each scene, because unlike the character like dialogue portion of this and the art portion of making a character, with an epilogue it's a lot harder to go back in and like make things out of order, so it's something to be aware of. And aside from that, I'll say it a third time, keep your concept simple, keep your expectations realistic, and don't be afraid to ask for help. And copy what other people have already done.
You mean like what do you mean?
Like pose-wise, you know.
Okay.
Like, you know
Because
how
I
we
was gonna
say,
say my advice would be if you're looking up like fan fiction and like doujinshi and stuff, like I would say don't copy from that. Don't copy what you've seen, because a lot of porn fucking sucks
that is
and
true.
it's just like bad and like poorly written, or at worst like toxic. Like just
What I mean,
make what you want to see, you know? Like don't
make
just
w-
make something that like you is like porny because like that's what you're used to and you think that's what people are gonna expect. Like just take a step back and think about it and just be like, what do I want to have happen?
yeah. What I mean by copy others is specifically other epilogues that have already done what you have done.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially ones like Saki, Mari, ones that have like easy to deconstruct and like reverse engineer scenes and assets that you can work with. I don't think anyone's really done it.
Saki's the kind of character where you take apart her body in the disassembler to animate, but you can just leave it like that.
Cali, do you have any thoughts on the epilogue?
I mean, I enjoyed it for. I think you did a good job with the tone of it. It was very simple, and I liked the kind of. It was really casual. I don't know how to describe this in a way, because I don't want to say it was like funny, because it's not like I was crying laughing while she whipped her boobs out. But like it was very simple. The setup was executed well. I think how like the other Magma Grunt comes in and it's just like, do you want takeout? We're fucking bored. It's like it's very
I
charming.
laughed just because it was literally the exact same model.
A lot of aspects about it I thought were very charming. I really enjoyed in like the talking scenes. You did a very good job not having like the sprite just like sit there and stare into your eyes if it like talked. It's like they moved around and they did it in like that visual novel way where you didn't like animate it. I think you did a
That's
very good
right.
job with
The
it.
little squash and stretch they do when they talk. That looked really
Yeah,
nice.
it adds a lot in my opinion with like the visual interest. The sex scenes they were well made. Um, I agree with you in that I think this choice of like you have a couple of scenes, you have like a setup and an ending, and I think it was executed very well, and I thought the ending was funny. I'm not like a Pokemon guy. I didn't know May was in the game Magma Grunt is from, but I still laughed. I don't know. I think he did very good with it.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. Well, Nord, it's time for me to play the bad cop.
Oh boy, here we go.
It's time for me to play the Archie to your Maxi. No, I mean I did really like it overall. It's one of the better epilogues this game has. It's nice and simple. It was my idea. It was everything it needed to be. You know, It's simple. You go over there, you fuck her, you turn her around, you fuck her, do something else, you fuck her. It's good. Most of my criticisms were little things. I think. Oh yeah, nice pick. I think one of the things was like, this is more like a general criticism that I have for a lot of epilogues. I'm guilty of it too, but I felt like there was a little too much talking or like text boxes, especially like during the action. I feel like there's sort of like, it's like when you're doing like the mating press, and she's like, this really isn't working for me. I feel like, there could have been like a visual way to communicate that, where she kind of like looks uncomfortable, or she's like not super into it. She's not making eye contact or whatever. And I think, like, personally, if you this goes on for a couple of different scenes. If you, I think it could have been a little more intimate. Like, I think the POV was like drawn back too much in certain ways, like mating press. Like, I was like a good like 2 feet away from her, like visually, which I guess is to see her whole body. But if I was mating pressing her, I'd be like right in her face. Like, I would mostly just see her face. I don't know. I guess that's so you could like see your legs and stuff. But honestly, what I think people should do more is kind of maintain that intimate like first person perspective, and then maybe have like almost like a comic book panel divide, and have like an insert shot or an inset of like a detail.
That's
I'm
a
also
good
gonna
idea. Yeah.
I'm also gonna repeat my criticism. I think that I made of Rose's mating press, where like the balls are opaque and I can't see her asshole. The only other big thing was, now it was nice overall, and that was the thing. It was kind of like, it was almost like too nice. It was like really, it was like, it got progressively sweeter, and she started to get pretty sweet on me. It's like, oh, it felt like that was the first time that someone really cared about me and how I was feeling, and like, that's nice, but I don't know. To me, the appeal of, let me just say, I think this is sort of the same thing that happened with Aqua Grunt and her dev, where I think she's really grown on you, so you start to care about her, maybe a little too much. Because I mean, in my mind, the appeal or like the joke of Magma Grunt is she's like just this generic mook, and she's not like a good person. She's very normal. She's kind of stupid, like crass, and not very interesting. So she would be the type to just like hit up a booty call and think nothing of it, and just have like this one night stand. And she'd be like kind of inconsiderate. She'd be like, what are you doing? Fuck me harder. You're done already? God damn it.
I think that's a valid criticism, and someone else was developing for her. That might have been how it went. It is probably.
I would just expect her to be kind of like, I don't know, I guess whiny and entitled, but
possibly.
in like a funnier way.
Yeah. No, I think
mean, it's
that's
not
fair.
bad. It's not bad what you did. It's just that's not my sort of perspective on the character, I guess.
Yeah, it is because I've been working on this character for like a year and a half at least by the time I made it. So like she grew on me a lot, and that of course bled over into the epilogue.
Wouldn't that be funny? We need to have like an epilogue that's just like bad sex.
You leave angry.
She just lies there, and she's like a dead fish. She's like, fucking, aren't you doing anything?
The issue of epilogues and too much text is that as an epilogue creator, I can say it's really hard to try and fill time with anything other than dialogue, because it then has the issue of, if you click twice, oh whoop, the scene is over. If there's no dialogue.
See, what I would say for that is just fill time visually. Like, just move the camera around. Just like slow panning or like a zoom in. That's what I would do.
That's a fair idea.
Because Because you really don't need to say anything.
I think personally, I mean, I've only played like a few epilogues. I know with most of it, like if you want to see the animations, just keep going. You just don't click. But personally, I like the text. A lot of the time, I don't like Kisuke how it looks, so I think it definitely is like a personal thing. Where it's like, but like with the animations, the keyframing, I can agree that like visually it does. You can't like sit and watch it for like the length of like a porn video because it's keyframing and it's like a repeated couple of frames. Which is nothing wrong with that. But also, I don't know. I think like some text and obviously like the opening talking. In my opinion, I think it's like okay, but I can agree that like a super long epilogue just like full of talking. At a certain point, you'd probably just keep clicking through it.
Hmm.
Oh, that reminds me. I have another criticism because I'm just full of them. I'm never satisfied. I think like the epilogue conditions. Maybe it's just because I'm not used to checking them. But the fact that you had to like earn her collectible, which I don't know how you get that collectible. Do you have to win the game?
You literally just have to finish your first game against her.
Okay, so you have to play against her twice.
Yeah.
I understand that, but I think I think you just shouldn't do that because I think a lot of players are just going to do what I did was I want to see the epilogue, so I'm just going to pick another game and mash through it.
That's fair enough. I'm not going to change it, but that's a fair enough, criticism.
I'd say just remove as many barriers as possible. Like you gotta remember what state they're in. It's like I don't want to. They're ideally they're like edging at the end of the game, and it's like I want to fuck her. I want to fuck her. I want to fuck her. God damn it! Fucking get to it. You just blue balled. You just blue balled them. They're gonna go over to Team Aqua because their balls are blue.
I'll change it right now if you can tell me what her name.
Mova,
G.
Mova, Dolores.
Oh.
Okay. Nord, take us into our next project, our next section.
So, in the time since she was added to the game, Komi-san has had an anime. And to reflect the new anime art style, Komi-san has had a complete visual update. And here it is.
I don't think it's the anime look, is it? I think it's just.
Pretty sure it is.
I mean, it is, but I mean, this is how she looked in the manga, isn't it? I think it's just like an update to make her look more accurate.
Her old art actually looked closer to the manga.
Is it? Okay, maybe.
I'll get
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I'll get a comparison image here.
Komi-san's very cute, but that's not the kind of show I would watch. Okay, like she needs to murder people.
So yeah, a complete visual update to every part of her character. Got a 29 vote quick pass. Well deserved,
And she lost like 6 inches apparently. Okay, maybe more like 3 or 4. She got shorter.
I think this is definitely one of those updates where the existing model was good, but then you get this update and suddenly you realize, by comparison, how like inaccurate the older version was. Not to say that the old version was bad or terribly inaccurate, but again, it took more after the manga, and you can tell that by how dark the hair is, and like the color palette.
Is Phonebox the one who did this update? He did her original art. Did he do the update?
I think so.
I mean, I'm sure he's capable of it, but I don't know. I'm not sure if his models really have a distinct style.
Yep, it was Phonebox.
All right, good for him. I mean, I've sung Phone Box's praises so many times on this show.
I think the new
But
model is really good at emphasizing her unique expressions. Cali, what do you think of her update?
Gotta say, I miss the little arrow that would point at her notebook. To be honest, it's such a small thing, but I kind of miss it. I think
oh yeah, I guess that isn't
Komi
there
was
anymore.
yeah, they got rid of it, which is like it's fine. I don't know. I liked the little distinction. I thought it was cute because everyone else had their little speech bubble, and then she had the little special arrow, so it kind of fit in with everyone else, but it still was her. It was small, but I don't know. I thought it was cute.
Yeah, she still has like no arrow on her speech bubble because it's all narration and writing.
Yeah. So Komi was one of like the first characters I played, and I used to play with her like a ton because I liked how her poses like would emote, and I really enjoyed. They did narration in a way that wasn't like just telling you like Komi's shy right now, and then you move on. But the artwork was I always thought the artwork was good, and the main reason I would get pulled back in was for her expressions. But I mean,
You're breaking up. Stay close to the mic.
Sorry.
Eat the mic.
I have my laptop's built-in microphone. I don't have that kind of money. The update. I agree with Nord in that you never really look at the old art and like think, oh, this looks bad. This needs an update. But it's definitely an improvement when you look at it. Her proportions are much. Not that her proportions are bad, but she has that like very pretty silhouette where she has like the long, thinner legs and like a little bit of like a slender torso. And her hair just looks fantastic with the new done shine rather than like all the little bats. Her emotions still shine through, which I'm very happy about with like the big eyes and the shaking and everything like that. It's something I don't think you realize like when you think back on the old model because I remember seeing it and I was like, well, how'd they improve it? Like the old one was fine. And you're like, oh, they changed a lot, but like she's still very charming in her poses and like everything still shines through, which I'm very happy about.
You can see a lot more. You can see a lot more detail in her hair now. It's not as dark.
Yeah.
They also just added more detail.
I believe they updated the Osana model as well then. That appears in her victory pose. Because Osana looks a bit more refined than they did before.
Isn't that like Najimi?
Najimi Osana.
Oh, okay.
Or Osana Najimi.
Osama bin Laden.
Overall, this is absolutely like what you would want out of an art update. Updating a model that was, well, not bad, but, fine in comparison to the newer art and deserves to be in the game.
Playing with her again definitely reiterated to me just how fucking good of a character she is. And how like she manages to be so unique but not intrusive.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. I always tell people not to write inner thoughts, parenthetical inner thoughts. Don't tell me what they're thinking. But I understand why people do it because it is very useful to sort of, get a lot of those horny thoughts out and to just communicate in general. But that's not something that I think a lot of characters should do. They're not portrayed that way in their source material, so you shouldn't know what they're thinking. But with Komi-san, obviously it's perfect. You kind of have to do that. I'm sure she does it all the time with the narration in her source material. So it's I mean, if you have an excuse, fucking take it and run with it, man, because it is very useful and very entertaining. I mean, I get a chuckle out of her plenty of times. She's just like doesn't know what's going on or struggling to deal with this new realization.
I've read the first dozen chapters of the manga, and I think it did a very good job of, at the very least, capturing the English translation version of her, like, inner thoughts and emotional state where it's not really her like direct thoughts. It's the narrator describing how she's feeling, which can
Yeah.
work a lot better
Yeah.
than just the character thinking what they could be saying out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, that also makes it more unique and more entertaining. But as far as the art goes, yeah, I'd say this is mostly like a modeling improvement. I don't think a lot of the poses have changed in terms
No.
of structure. I mean, they look good because they're on a better, more detailed model, and the poses were very good and very expressive to begin with. And they definitely capture a lot of the expressiveness that she has. One thing that really stuck out to me though was her breasts. So obviously, like looking at those, but she took them out. I just lit up when I saw these things. Now I got to find like a good pose that shows them off. It's because her hair is kind of getting in the way. I guess this will work. But they just look so good, dude. Because you know why? Because they actually look fucking perky. I'm sorry. I've railed against so many like modern SPNatI trends that like of custom stuff that people are doing because I don't think it actually looks good. Like yeah, custom's good, but it doesn't. A lot of stuff I personally don't think looks good. But this looks perfect because it looks like they got some lift to them. I know a lot of people are like, oh, saggy, got a little sag to them that's kind of realistic. I say fuck that. There's nothing realistic about strip poker night of the inventory. Okay, this is like hot anime girls and guys lined up for you, faceless avatar. Fuck that. All right. Make them look as beautiful as possible, and this looks really good. And it's like it's not even that complicated of a shape. It's literally just like the same construction as a lot of Kisage breasts, but all Phonebox did was exactly what I've been saying to a lot of people, was just shade more of the underside or the bottom half of the breast and move the nipple up a little bit, and now they don't look saggy. Now she doesn't look like she's 40.
A lot of it can depend on the character.
Looks fucking great.
A lot of it can depend on the character and the creator's preferences, of course.
These are some of the best boobs I've ever seen, and like they're so simple. Like
They are simple. A lot of new developers jump straight into doing them 100% custom, and it's often really hard to. They do. It's been a
Nowadays, yes.
It's been a trend in the Kisake channels. And a lot of the time, it's really hard to explain how they're doing it completely wrong and making them look like
two-dimensional,
like literal pancakes just stapled on there.
Well, it's shading, man. That's all what it all comes down to. If you don't shade it right, they just look like dinner plates.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Shading's hard. Like I'm learning to draw here and there, and it's fucking hard, man. I don't. It feels like because it's not like a science, It's like how do you shade it? Well, it's different every time. You just kind of got to get a feel for it, for what'll convey the depth. But I would think like shading a boob is not really that hard because it's mostly a sphere. It's not that hard to look up how to shade a sphere or like a teardrop shape.
And then someone adds two perfectly three-dimensional spheres to their model.
Like PNGs.
Yeah. Why
That's not a joke.
Working?
We've had characters submitted that were just literal JPEGs, JPEG clothing.
Yeah.
The artifact. But enough about Anili.
I was going to say enough about Komi-san. I took a glance at Noelle's wiki page, and then I asked my friend, who plays Genshin Impact, a simple question. Is she a rock-type Pokemon? And he answered, yes, she is.
What?
Noelle. She's rock-type, or the Genshin Impact equivalent of rock.
What? Why? Hello?
Hello?
Are you going to elaborate? Or are you going to
No, I refuse to elaborate. Although
refuses to elaborate, leaves the voice call. What is
I do actually have an elaboration on it. I don't play Genshin, but I am good at reading wikis. She has a lot of anecdotes and like personal stories about how beautiful and headstrong she is. One of them being an anecdote involving sucrose, in fact, about how Noelle saw a bunch of boxes of materials outside Sucrose's lab, and without a word, brought them all inside to help Sucrose out. Sucrose was too shy to say that she had just finished taking those boxes outside. I got quite a bit of that in my games with her in SPNAI, where she has that little bit of trying her best to be helpful and maybe not caring what people say to, like, you know, say, oh, it's fine, you don't have to help. She will do it anyway. You know, headstrong, reckless, trying her best.
Allie, what did you think of Noelle?
So, I hope I don't sound too mean. Noelle, I remember playing with her on testing, and I played with her like last night, 2 days ago, and then I played her against last night to like further. I never got a super strong understanding of her. Maybe it could just be me being like thick-headed. I understood like she's kind and like a knight and she wants to help people, but I never really understood past that. I can agree. I think her best moments are when she's telling these like stories that make her feel like a person. Like you learn a bit more about her through her actions, and you can like better imagine her in that world. But with Noelle, I just have a hard time, um, like I don't know how to say it. I just have a little bit of a hard time fully understanding her personality and like I get like the main points like her chivalry and like being a knight and what she does. But I always feel like there's something missing. Maybe it's just because I don't play Genshin, but I never fully. I don't feel like I fully understood her from my games with her.
I think the idea is that she's like this workaholic knight, as Nord said, who's just like constantly going out of her way to help people, even to the point where it's unhelpful. I think we've all met someone like that before, right? Who's kind of forces themselves into a situation where they think they're being more helpful than they actually are. She's just but she's kind of like so sweet that people put up with it. I don't know a whole lot about like how deep Genshin Impact characters go. You know, like I
Yeah,
don't know
and
if
I think
it's
that
like a
that could
Fire
be part
Emblem
of it.
thing where they have like their one shtick and that's it. They have their one personality trait,
From what
or
I
if there's like
gather,
a story.
some characters fall into that Fire Emblem trap of, okay, these are my two gimmicks and my primary color. But a lot of them, like Noelle, have a lot of lore and like inter-character like things to say about, you know, each other. Um, yeah, I think there's character stories is a thing. So there's probably a fair bit to draw from, as opposed to some Fire Emblem characters where, as I say, two personality traits and a primary color.
Yeah. Uh, it could just be like that trope is just lost on me. Noelle, I remember a big thing when I played with her when she first was on testing was she would be at the table and she would say things, but she didn't really have much of like a spotlight where she stood. She's much better with that now, where she feels like very at home in like in her place at the table. It's just I don't know. I feel like I have a hard time receiving what she's telling me about herself.
She's just not for you.
It could completely be that, honestly. I don't really like Genshin. I don't like
Now
women.
now you know how Nmasp felt about like Anatoly, where it's just like this
Yeah.
is good, but it's like 100% not my wheelhouse.
I can empathize finally.
What I found like on the first game with her, it was in her default outfit. At the very end of the game, she will start sweeping the floor if she's inside, you know, the background. In her Christmas outfit, she'll start eating a bucket of chicken. I don't quite know if that whole KFC thing is a reference to something in Genshin, or if it's just some kind of community joke, or even just a
Oh,
development joke.
she's definitely got some kind of food thing, like serving food, eating food, getting a little bit of the
She's
belly
so
chub.
skinny though.
I mean, she's really not like
She has
she's
a
not like
little.
what I would call a chubby character, but she's got a little bit of meat on the bone when you get
She
down. She's got like some custom hips to add a little extra curve, and she like has a
This-
pose where like she grabs her like stomach flab.
she does that in her Christmas outfit, I think, because she's a little bit thicker. But she's only
Okay,
thicker.
that may be
She's
it. I played her in her Christmas outfit.
the thing is, she's only thicker in the waist, like between her hips and her like upper body. That's the
Well,
only place she's thicker.
that's just Genshin Impact. They all have the same face.
No, I mean like the
Just
legs.
don't tell anybody.
The legs aren't any thicker.
Don't tell anyone that they all have the same design, basically.
I won't tell if you don't tell. But
Okay.
there is.
Solitaire, cut this out. Make sure you cut it out. Do not raise the volume during this part. Make sure that no one can hear it.
I like during when I did the playtest with the Christmas outfit last night, in fact. I didn't really know if like the chubby thing was added or if that was, or like if it was just like the costume was drawing attention to it and it was always part of her model. It's a bit subtle in a way, so I had to like actually compare the sprites to see, she's bigger in the holiday outfit. Interesting. Overall, she's pretty good, pretty endearing, very enthusiastic. I think now that she's on me and some more targets that lean heavily into her, you know, wanting to help people however she can. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
She's eager to please.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my suggestions. This is a character that she hasn't gotten a ton of development overall. It's nice for her to make it on main, and not every character has to be developed forever. But I do think she would benefit from some in-depth targets, some more specific conversations, because like trying to find specific ways to help people. That being said, her general shtick is pretty nice. And I think if you wanted to add more generic lines, I think I suggested this when she came on testing, was to sort of spin that in a more sexual direction at some point. Like, where because like her desire to help, it kind of frames it where you could tell it's just like her having lewd thoughts, but she could kind of like mask it in that way. Like, oh, would you like me to do this for you? Would that help you? And she could like, either talking about like an action she could take or just like a pose she could strike. It was like, oh, would this help? Would this help? Huh? Is that good? Do you like me like this?
Almost like a parallel to Darkness, where like Darkness frames her thoughts and desires as if like accusing someone else of wanting to do that to her. But with Noelle, it's Noelle. She can be like trying to offer it in a way that sounds like she's pretending she thinks that's what the other person wants, but really it's what she wants.
It's I think this character captures what she's going for really well, as in that sort of where she's a knight, she's a servant, she's there to help others, and because of that, yeah, she never really takes the spotlight. I don't think she has to. I play in my game with her. She was never like the most exciting or the most interesting character, but she was always doing enough. I never forgot about her completely. She had enough like visual interest because her model's really nice, and she had like some custom like legwork and posing, like grabbing her belly chub, or like or sweeping, or eating chicken or pancakes or whatever, or like offering to get food. She's always doing something. She's always doing enough to keep interest. And I think that's all you can ask for in a lot of characters. She's got her shtick. She rides it out well enough. And even if she wasn't my personal favorite, I think she did what she had to do, and I can respect that as a project. And those are my suggestions for the future if you want to pursue it any further.
I think the worst thing you could say about a character that hits main is they don't have a presence at all. That's not true of Noelle. It's just she's a lot more subdued and like pays in service to other characters present. But she's not a blank character that you just throw in if you wanted to do a one-on-one. So I hope I think it's Fault currently doing all the writing. Hope she gets some more updates, but she's in a pretty good spot. And that's about it.
Okay. And to finish off this episode 64, the superest, the most Nintendo of episodes, despite not covering any Nintendo characters. Oh no, yes we did. We covered Magma Grunt. All right, it all works out. Let's end with a game update altogether. Nord, why don't you talk us through the new card swap animation that we got?
Oh boy, the card swap animation. We've been waiting years for this. The technology is finally there. Oh my god, it's
Version 13, baby.
It's completely changed the game. It's like a whole new game. Oh, it's gonna elevate us. Game of the year 2022. Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Game. I can't believe Game of the Year. I can't believe we took it. We swept Elden Ring out from. We swept their legs out from under them. Game of the Year 2022. Even though SPNatI was made in 2016, 2015.
So what the card swap animation actually is? It's something very simple in concept that Reform Copyright has added, where when you choose which cards to swap, they fade upwards, I believe. Yeah, they fade upwards. So it's easier to tell which cards are you keeping and which cards are you getting rid of. It's a very subtle thing, but it makes it immediately more apparent, like, what you're actually doing, in my opinion.
The advance button also now tells you how many cards you're swapping with a number.
Huh. I didn't know that. That seems like such an obvious thing. I didn't even notice that was new.
Well, that's the mark of a good update, almost.
Yeah. I think this is one of those.
It feels like something that should have always been there.
Yeah. Reform Copyright's been doing a lot of like minor visual adjustments, like the character select cards, for example. When you're scrolling through them, they snap to each row, which makes it a lot easier to like scroll through our ever-expanding list of characters more like smoothly. And something like a card swap animation, you don't need to spend 3+ months debating the pros and cons of it. It's one of those things where I almost want to say it's better for RC to have like merged it, and then if something goes horribly wrong with it, if it turns out it breaks everything, ask for forgiveness rather than permission to add it eventually one day.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where, as a coder, if you can do it, like just do it. Like it's unintrusive enough that you can just make it happen. Although his original idea had like a 3D effect, which I thought was okay, but some people didn't like, where they tilted into the background.
I thought that was a cool idea, but thinking on it, I think it's better that it's a simpler effect, especially given that I think this simpler effect works more reliably across all devices, whereas the 3D effect might not be supported on every device.
It works though. It definitely it works. Like it's one of those little things. Like before, if you just glanced at your hand, it was very possible to not realize how many cards you had lined up for exchange, and now it's very easy to just quickly scan, be like, okay, yeah, 3.
Yeah. Cali, what is your incredibly
Little quality of
nuanced
life.
quality of life indeed? Cali, what is your incredibly nuanced opinion on the card swap animation?
Every single match
Fucking
I
hate
played
it, man.
SPNatI, I never switched any cards ever. I would just take what I got. I would just fucking change nothing. I've done it every single round. But obviously I didn't when I was
Did you not know
testing.
that you could do that?
I knew I could, I just didn't I didn't feel like it. I don't know why. I like the change. Obviously I did it. It was my first round changing cards, because to test the new animation. It's very small.
I can't
It's a
believe you
very
had to
small
change your
thing.
play style in order to see this.
I know these updates are ridiculous. It's very small, but I don't know. It's like satisfying to just see it move up. Um, it's one of those things where I feel like it was worth doing, and it's the visual feedback I think is very nice, like you guys were saying, and it's a very quality of life thing. I'm just repeating it, but I like the change. Maybe I'll start switching my cards now because I like the little. It's more satisfying now, um, which I think is a good thing. Because
Why don't you just turn on the auto suggest?
no, that's for pussies. I'm a real man, dude. I just switch them all.
Scrubs.
Just all of
It's
them.
for scrubs
Keep them
that
all.
don't know how to get pairs. It's for scrubs that don't have a pair.
Sure.
They just gotta, yeah. Oh shit. What was I? Oh yeah, it only took 7 years for us to get this. Hopefully, it will have been worth the wait. Who knows what the next 7 years will have in store? Maybe we'll finally have some audio.
Maybe we'll finally have a good tag search system aside from one tag at a time.
Maybe we'll have epilogue descriptions, or you two don't remember, like I mean, unless you played the game back in the day. Like when I started, I had to fucking like advocate for this in like the SPNatI Senate. I had to like make my case. Like it used to be when a character came, like it would auto advance, so like you couldn't look at it for very long. Which I thought was just the dumbest thing. Like what would you want to look at more than that shit? Which is literally the climax to their entire arc, their entire character sequence, and it just like skipped right past it. Everything else you hit the button for normally. You could wait as long as you wanted, but that it just kept on going for some reason, and I had to literally argue to change that. But you know, that's how it was for like the first 2-3 years of this game's dark times.
Crazy to think about.
Sorry, what did you say?
Crazy to think about.
Oh,
That
it's been a crazy episode.
It just breaks the flow of everything.
You two, I mean, you're just wild party animals.
Because like aside from the card swap AI case, that's literally the only other time it would auto advance. Then we did that. I want names.
Okay, well, that's gonna wrap up our Super SPNatI 64. Do either of you have any thoughts before we take a break and clean up this episode?
Good job. A big thumbs up. I would send the cat jumping up and down gif, but I can't.
Solitaire can add that in.
Send
Let's
it anyway.
go.
We'll make
Yay!
Solitaire edit.
Good job to who?
Everyone for the main roster additions and just new stuff being made. It's like a good variety. I think.
New stuff,
With, like,
always
art.
cool.
Anything you want to plug? I mean, you can plug it after next episode. But is there anything you want to plug right now? Since this is going to be released first.
Like plug what?
I don't know. Just if you feel like just shameless plug, or if you just want to talk
Shout
about
out
something.
to Corgi. I don't know. I don't have anything.
I would like to dedicate this podcast to my Orthodox rabbi, Rubber Corgi.
Love you, Corgi.
Reformed Orthodox rabbi.
My Reformed Orthodox rabbi, Rubber Corgi.
There we go. There we go. We got two jokes now about the VGAs that will just instantly date this video.
Yes, I love being outdated the moment you record it.
It's already old news, and it's not going to be out until like January. I mean, it doesn't matter. I've said shit about like Trump and the Capitol insurrection and elections and all this
It'll
shit.
loop
So like
back.
whatever.
It loops back into being relevant. It's okay.
All right. I think that's gonna do it. So thank you, Cali. Thank you, Nord.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast.